All right. So are you ready to like really dig into this whole Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson thing?
Oh, absolutely.
Because I feel like everybody's seen the headlines, right? They've
Yeah.
seen like, oh, the YouTuber beat the legendary Mike Tyson.
Right.
But we're going deeper than that today.
Way
We're going
deeper.
to be using sources like CBS News and the Mirror
Excellent sources.
to kind of figure out what this fight really means. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, what's so interesting about this is that it wasn't just like a regular fight, you know?
Right.
This was like a full-on cultural collision.
Yeah.
You got Jake Paul representing this whole new wave of internet fame, this new wave of celebrity. And he's facing off against Mike Tyson, who's like a bona fide boxing icon from a totally different era.
Exactly. Yeah. And it really makes you think about like what even is a celebrity now?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, how do we define that?
Totally. And the fact that like Jake Paul won by unanimous decision.
After 8 2-minute rounds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It just adds another layer to this whole thing.
Absolutely.
And Mike Tyson, he started out strong.
Of course, yeah.
As you would expect him to.
Totally.
But Jake Paul's stamina and his strategy, like that's what won the fight.
He was smart.
Yeah. And CBS News, they described Mike Tyson as being on his heels in like the final rounds.
Interesting.
And for those who don't know a lot about boxing, that basically means that he was like backing up the whole time.
Oh, okay.
He was struggling to like counter Paul's attacks.
So Paul was kind of using like a classic outboxer strategy then?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
He was relying on his reach. He's a lot taller than Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And he was relying on his footwork to keep Tyson at a distance.
Yeah, keep him away.
And it worked. He totally wore Tyson down.
Wow.
Just by landing like consistent jabs and counter punches as the fight went on.
Interesting, yeah.
And you could really see like Paul's confidence growing as the fight progressed. Like he was really feeling himself.
Of course.
Meanwhile, Tyson, who's known for this like explosive power,
right.
he seemed to just fade away as those rounds went on.
Oh, wow.
Like he just couldn't keep up.
That's fascinating.
And I think it really highlights the contrast between their fighting styles and like the eras that they each represent.
Totally. Like different generations.
Yeah, it's almost like a changing of the guard in a way.
It really is.
And I thought it was really interesting because even though they had all this like pre-fight hype, there was even that incident at the weigh-in.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Where Tyson slapped Paul.
After Paul stepped on his toe, yeah.
They still ended the fight with a hug.
Really?
And they had like words of mutual respect for each other.
Oh, wow. That's great.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And I really liked what Paul said after the fight.
What did he say?
He said, he's a legend and the greatest to ever do it.
Wow.
He's the GOAT. I look up to him.
That's great.
I'm inspired by him. This man is an icon.
That's so cool.
This really shows you that even though they had this, rivalry, and they come from such different backgrounds, there's still that recognition there.
That's awesome.
Of each other's achievements.
Yeah.
Speaking of different backgrounds, let's talk about how we even got to this fight.
Yeah.
Because this fight was originally postponed.
Oh, that's right.
Because of a health scare on Tyson's side.
What happened?
He had an ulcer flare-up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was pretty serious.
That's scary.
And I think that postponement actually fueled the public's interest even more.
Yeah, probably. I bet.
Because it just added to the drama.
For sure.
Especially with that whole weigh-in incident.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Where Tyson slapped Paul.
Yeah.
CBS News reported on that extensively.
Of course.
It just played perfectly into the whole narrative.
Totally.
That they were already building up.
Yeah.
It just became part of the spectacle.
It's like wrestling almost,
Yeah, and it's funny because their reactions afterward, it was so nonchalant.
Really?
It was almost like it was
staged.
Yeah, potentially.
Interesting.
And you know what? It worked.
I bet.
Because people were talking about it.
Of course.
Everyone was speculating about what was going to happen in the fight.
Yeah.
And that's what sells tickets.
Exactly.
That's what drives the pay-per-view numbers up.
Totally.
So we've got this clash of personalities.
Yeah.
A postponed fight, a slap at the weigh-in.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it really does set the stage for something bigger than just boxing.
For sure.
Absolutely. It taps into our fascination with celebrity, with rivalries, with the whole spectacle of it all.
Totally.
And that's why I think this fight gets so much attention.
Makes sense.
It was entertainment on a grand scale.
Yeah, I agree.
But I also think it raises some questions about, what we value in our entertainment now.
Oh, for sure.
Who we even consider to be celebrities these days. And how those definitions are changing, especially in 2024.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you know what? I think this is a good place to maybe pause for a second.
Okay.
Because now I kind of want to get into the business side of this fight.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole other can of worms.
It really is.
For sure.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we'll be back with part 2.
Okay.
To dive into that. But until then, think about this. What does it say about our culture that a YouTuber is now headlining a major boxing event?
Wow.
Against a legend like Mike Tyson?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's pretty crazy.
It is.
All right, we'll be back soon with more.
Sounds good. Welcome back.
So we're back, and
yeah, let's get into the money.
Let's talk money, baby.
The money.
Because like we were saying before the break, the money involved in this thing is huge.
Huge part of the story, yeah.
I mean, going into this fight, Jake Paul was projected to make something like $40 million.
What?
And Mike Tyson was looking at an estimated $20 million.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's just insane.
And that makes you think, why would Mike Tyson, a boxing legend with a Hall of Fame career, why would he step into the ring with a YouTuber?
Right, exactly.
Even for that kind of money.
It's the million-dollar question.
It's the multi-million-dollar question.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of things.
Okay.
The money is obviously a huge incentive.
Of course.
But there's also this element of staying relevant.
Yeah.
Of proving that he can still compete.
Right.
Even if it's against, someone from a younger generation. Someone who represents a different kind of fame.
Yeah, like he's tapping into a new audience.
Exactly.
Right.
And for Jake Paul, this was about more than just money.
Yeah.
This was a strategic move to really solidify his position in the boxing world, to show that he's not just a novelty act.
And remember, he co-founded Most Valuable Promotion.
Right.
The company that produced this fight.
That's right.
So he's not just a boxer.
Yeah.
He's a businessman.
He's a businessman.
He's building an empire.
And that entrepreneurial spirit is a key part of understanding his appeal. He's a disruptor.
Okay.
He's challenging the traditional way, the hierarchy of boxing.
I like that, a disruptor.
And he's using his social media savvy and his business skills to create opportunities that wouldn't have existed even a few years ago.
And it's working.
It is.
He's bringing in massive audiences, attracting all these sponsors, generating tons of revenue.
And don't forget, this fight was streamed on Netflix.
Which is a whole new ball game.
That's a game changer.
For boxing.
Netflix has a global subscriber base.
Exactly.
By streaming this fight.
Yeah.
They made it accessible to way more people than traditional pay-per-view events.
So boxing is basically entering the streaming era.
Absolutely.
Which could, totally shake things up.
It could. We might see more non-traditional matchups.
Okay.
More cross-platform collaborations.
Thanks.
More blurring of the lines between sports and entertainment.
It's kind of exciting and kind of scary at the same time.
It's a new frontier, and it's all happening against the backdrop of these changing ideas of celebrity and success. I mean, social media influencers have never had this much influence before.
Right.
And that influence is spilling over into the world of sports.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how it's all playing out.
This fight, this whole Jake Paul, Mike Tyson spectacle, this is at the center of it all.
It really is.
It's a case study in the convergence of sports, entertainment, and digital culture.
It's making us rethink what a boxing match even is.
Totally.
Who could be a boxer?
Yeah.
How these events are consumed by audiences worldwide.
And speaking of audiences, do you remember that Katie Taylor-Amanda Serrano rematch?
Oh, yeah, that was huge.
That was a big one.
For women's boxing.
Yeah, it speaks to this shift we're talking about.
Okay.
That rematch was highly anticipated, intensely competitive, and ultimately controversial.
Yeah, a lot of people felt like Serrano should have won.
Right.
Like the judges got it wrong.
The Mirror reported that a lot of people felt that way.
Yeah, which raises all these questions.
It does.
About judging in boxing. The role of crowd reaction.
Yeah.
And just the challenges that women still face in getting the recognition they deserve in the sport.
Absolutely.
Like that Taylor-Serrano rematch was a microcosm of the whole night.
Interesting.
Highlighting all the complexities and contradictions of modern boxing.
It all comes back to this idea of cultural collision.
Yeah.
A clash of styles, personalities, and generations. Yeah.
All vying for attention.
Yeah.
In this crazy world of sports and entertainment.
And those lines are getting blurrier all the time.
They are. It's hard to say what the future holds for boxing.
I know.
But it's going to be interesting.
It is. You know, as we're wrapping up this whole deep dive into this thing, I keep thinking back to what you were saying earlier about those cultural collisions.
Oh, yeah.
Because it really is fascinating how this fight
It really is.
wasn't just about two guys in a ring.
Right.
It was like a reflection of how we consume entertainment these days.
Totally.
Who we even consider to be celebrities and how technology is just changing everything.
Yeah. And that Taylor Serrano rematch.
Oh, yeah.
Really highlighted that, too.
Yeah, it showed like the growing power and influence of women's boxing.
Yeah.
But it also brought up some questions about judging and fairness in the sport.
It was a good reminder that, like,
while boxing has this long history,
yeah,
it's constantly evolving.
It is.
Adapting to new audiences, new platforms, and new challenges.
And speaking of new platforms, we can't forget that this whole fight was streamed on Netflix.
It was.
And that says a lot about where boxing is headed.
I think so.
I mean, Netflix has a global reach.
Huge.
They have a diverse subscriber base.
Yeah.
And a reputation for just blowing up traditional media.
Totally.
And so by partnering with them, Jake Paul and Most Valuable Promotions are like, they're opening up boxing to a whole new audience.
I agree.
It's like they're going around the gatekeepers of traditional pay-per-view and taking the sport right to the people.
And that could change everything.
I think so.
It could lead to more viewers, more accessibility, a more diverse range of fighters and matchups.
I mean, imagine a world where anyone with an internet connection can watch the biggest fights without having to pay these ridiculous pay-per-view fees.
That would be a game changer.
It would.
For fans.
For fighters.
For the sport.
For everyone.
But it also makes you think about
the
future of boxing promotion.
Right.
And like how they're going to make money.
Yeah. Are streaming services like Netflix going to become like the main platform for these big fights?
Maybe.
How's that going to affect the pay-per-view model?
Good question.
These are all questions that we're going to have to figure out.
I know.
As things keep changing.
Yeah. But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
This whole Jake Paul, Mike Tyson thing, it's thrown down a challenge.
Oh, okay.
Like they're saying boxing is ready for something new.
A new era.
Yeah, and whether you're a hardcore boxing fan or just a casual observer, this fight has given us a lot to think about.
It really has.
It reminds us that sports and entertainment and technology are all coming together in ways we never could have imagined.
So as we wrap up this deep dive today, what are you thinking about?
Yeah, what stood out to you the most?
Yeah. What questions do you still have?
Yeah, the world of boxing.
Yeah?
Like the world in general, it's always changing.
Yeah.
The future is uncertain.
Okay.
But you know, one thing's for sure.
What's that?
The thrill of the fight.
Yeah.
The drama of the competition. And that human desire to just watch amazing athletes.
That's never going to change.
Nope.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was fun.
We'll see you next time.
See you then.
When we take on another big topic.
That's good.
From the world of news, culture, and ideas.
All right.
Until then, keep diving.